Psycho woman on paternity court.
Your Honor, the other day he said the doctor told him he can't have no kids because he been trying to have a baby with Miss Tomato Head over there for a long time.
Still been sleeping with him, coming in 8:30 in the morning.
That was
Come on,
only
man.
twice, but he comes in 4 or 5
It doesn't
o'clock
matter,
every night, Your Honor.
Some women come into court with the most bizarre of accusations. Even then, they manage to knock you right off your seat. That's just the case of Ms. Lewis trying to trap her childhood crush, Mr. Milton, into a paternity battle. Why? Because she's obsessed with him.
I feel like she's been plotting on me ever since then. Like
Since you were kids?
Yeah, 'cause you know what? Every since I was younger, I always had somebody else in my life. And she always came around. She knew that. I always had somebody else, but she always wanted to be around, calling me, coming over.
Okay, so you believe she's been pursuing you?
Yes.
And that was part of her plot?
As soon as she got the opportunity, she got it.
Mr. Milton starts his testimony by confessing how Ms. Lewis has been stalking him since they were children. Whenever some new love interest showed up in his life, Ms. Lewis would be there to make things worse. But Ms. Lewis says that she only found him cute and never chased him that way.
So when you were in other relationships, you say Miss Lewis used to always come around?
Always
Were
come
you coming
around.
around, Miss Lewis?
Yes.
Coming
Hello.
around for what? Trying to
No,
be
because
with him?
it was my
Trying to be
family.
with me. She was
My
trying to
family
be with
was
me.
close with his family, and he know his mom loves me, and he know how close his family is with me.
Judge Lauren then asks them if they were ever in a romantic relationship, and it's clarified that nothing like that ever happened. But the shocking revelation comes when Miss Lewis says that her girlfriend encouraged her to sleep with a man so they could raise a newborn together.
The opportunity presented itself, or either you created the opportunity to go over and see him, and you all have unprotected sex. Is that the testimony?
Yes, you are.
And it was sex one time, or how many times?
First time it was one time, then after the baby was born, of course, we was getting a little more familiar, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it was more than one time.
According to Mr. Milton, Ms. Lewis told him she was pregnant the very night they slept together. But then Ms. Lewis says that she didn't tell him until 2 weeks later. And even then, she went to share the news with his mama first, and she seemed pretty over the moon about them having a kid together.
How did you find out Ms. Lewis was pregnant?
She came over to my mother's house with a sonogram, and
She had a sonogram when she
Yes.
came to your mother's house?
Yes.
2 weeks after you had
Yes.
sex with her?
I saw a little baby, black and white, in a sonogram ultrasound. That's what she said. Then she said, "Don't the baby look like you?" I ain't got no face in there. How the baby look like you? Like, for real.
At first, Mr. Milton was happy about the pregnancy. But then the doubts started creeping in when Ms. Lewis' girlfriend called his mother. Guess what she had to say? That Ms. Lewis was married to some African guy and that they had been sleeping together. Even Judge Lauren is confused at this point.
You were married to another man?
Yes, I was.
Okay, so were you having sex with that man as well?
No, Your Honor. She was mad at me at the time, so she called Mr. Milton and told.
She didn't call me. She called my mother. Let's be
Same
real.
thing.
So
Same thing.
how old was Desire?
Young, very young. Like I was really trying to be there.
At this point, the judge asks Miss Lewis what's the deal with this secret husband. She says that she married him when she was young. She wasn't making the best decisions then. Or is she just coming up with excuses to portray herself as innocent here?
If your partner calls his family and says, now you know she has a husband, and if his testimony that he saw a sonogram, an ultrasound at 2 to 3 weeks is true, and you also had a husband, then he is very confused about the
Hello.
paternity.
Eventually, Mr. Milton's girlfriend, Ms. Daniels, is asked to give her testimony. She says that Ms. Lewis is just attention-seeking, and that every time she comes over, she's just there to create a mess. She's not really concerned about her daughter. So, will the DNA results prove Ms. Lewis wrong?
Mr. Milton, you are the father.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Had to
you.
know. I had to
Thank
know.
you.
It's
God,
my right.
God,
It's my
I
right.
told you.
You planted
All
seeds
right,
of doubt. You
all
planted
right.
seeds of doubt. It's my right to know. You planted that.
Okay, look. Just take a minute and take a breath.
I told you.
Mr. and Mrs. Peebles should have known they won't be getting a happy ending when they married each other on April Fool's Day. Now, Mr. Peebles is in a pickle. He's wondering if he's really the father of their daughter, or has his wife been making a fool of him all these years?
In the beginning, everything was cool, she was nice, but then to come to find out she's very conniving, bossy, insecure.
So you say you feel like a fool.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you set out to fool him, Miss Peebles?
No, ma'am. He fooled me. I've been taking care of this man for 4 years.
Turns out, before these two tied the knot, things had been as smooth as ever. But it was their marriage that revealed Mrs. Pebble's true mask to her husband. Once her true colors showed, he realized she wasn't as nice and cool as she led him on to believe.
This is just like a stopping point right now.
Now, he claimed I was cheating on him, which I'm gonna be honest, I did. It's because he cheated on me first.
How did you find out about all this?
So on my birthday, she dropped me off.
Incorrect, he drove my car. So I got picked up to go to this party, which I met the other guy.
The biggest blow came when Mrs. Peebles already made plans on the day of Mr. Peebles' birthday. What kind of woman doesn't take out her own husband for dinner on his big day? According to Mr. Peebles, she had already made plans to cheat on him. But to do it on his birthday?
Of course, I was sleeping with him, but I used protection with this guy.
Okay, you say you use birth control, you use a condom. Well, we know that's not 100% effective. Is that the only time you slept with that guy?
Maybe a week after that, but like I said, protected sex.
1 week after?
Yes, Your Honor.
Even Judge Lauren takes Mr. Peebles' side and sees why he might be so suspicious of his wife and her whereabouts. But the worst part is that Mrs. Peebles didn't just betray her husband once, she did it again a week later. And although she says she used protection, that doesn't erase the doubts.
When you find out you're pregnant, who do you tell?
Mr. Peebles.
You know, I'm super excited. This gonna be my first child. And I get to thinking like, dang, almost 2 years of being together, unprotected sex, never got pregnant. Until you go outside the relationship and come back, and now you pregnant.
The audacity of Mrs. Peebles to point fingers at Mr. Peebles. According to her, she was just cheating for revenge because Mr. Peebles might try to show himself as an innocent man in court, but he's not free from sin either. So what made Mr. Peebles doubt in the first place?
Oh, so you took another man's money to pay for the man you live with?
Yes, but he making it seem like I'm the bad person when he up here talking to other women and got a baby on the way. We married now. Your baby due is 2 weeks before our baby birthday. And you still talk to her. And she your friend on Facebook, but your wife can't be your friend on Facebook.
Things really started spiraling when Mr. Peebles talks about the stranger who showed up at his house. At first, he suspected Mrs. Peebles was sleeping with him. But then she tells the entire court that this unknown man helped her with bills. Why did she marry Mr. Peebles then?
Still been sleeping with him, coming in 8:30 in the morning.
That was
Come on
only
now.
twice, but he comes in 4 or 5
It doesn't matter, but-
every night, Your Honor.
Miss Peebles, are you pregnant now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you know who this child's father is?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know.
It seems like that even Mr. Peebles has his fair share of issues, but it doesn't justify all the bad things Mrs. Peebles did to him. Sure, she takes care of him, but losing your husband's trust is the worst possible thing. Can the results mend their marriage?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Peebles, you are the father.
Now take care of your responsibility. Help me out. Start helping me out. I ain't dumb. And you making it feel like I'm the fool. I'm deceiving you. You deceived me from day one.
Mr. Meyer and Ms. Fisher are about to engage in one of the craziest paternity court battles to date, where Ms. Fisher claims that she was ready to leave her single life behind and start a family with Mr. Meyer. He thinks that all she did to him was break his heart and cheat.
After having our first son together, we lived together for about 3 years. We found out that after the new year, we were gonna have a second son. He decided he didn't want anything to do with me. I ended up living with another family member, just to better our lives.
Now there's a child being dragged into the middle of this psychotic drama. In the beginning, these two had a seemingly happy family. They even had a kid together. They had been living together for 3 years, but the moment Ms. Fisher got pregnant again, things became worse than before.
She got pregnant with Xavier. She's cheated on me multiple times. I came home, I found my mattress flipped over. I came home, I found multiple people in my bedroom.
I want to be clear too, you all were in a relationship.
Yes, Your Honor.
At first, Mr. Meyer only doubted the paternity of the second child. But with time, when he saw evidence of Ms. Fisher sleeping around, he began to think that the woman he was in love with hadn't been telling him the truth. But then why did he never take a DNA test in 3 years?
If he thought for some reason that one of these children were not his after 3 years of having the first one, would you not take a DNA test from initial?
I asked you how many times about a DNA test?
When you found out Miss Fisher was pregnant, did you believe instantly this wasn't your child?
I had serious doubts this kid was my child right when she told me.
One unfortunate day, Ms. Fisher found Mr. Meyer crying in their room. She says she felt concerned for him, but then he told her to leave immediately. Turns out the poor man was trying to cope up with the fact that she had been going behind his back. So, how did he react to her pregnancy?
My neighbor told me some guys crawled out the window. Who was that? Who crawled out the window?
I would like to know myself.
Oh, well, you were there, obviously. I mean,
Your neighbor told you someone was crawling?
my neighbor said, hey, is your house broken into? I'm like, I don't know, I can go check. I don't think, why would my house be broken? He said, I seen somebody crawling out of your window. I said, really? So I go run over to my house. Nothing's gone or nothing like that.
Hold up though, because things truly start going south when one day, when Ms. Fisher comes to pick up Mr. Meyer from work, he tells the court that her entire hair was covered in bodily fluids. And that can only happen if she was off doing the deed with someone else. Is that why she was so late?
This is what his doubt is based on. Were you with someone
She admitted
else?
she cheated on me that night. She was so messed up and partying all night. I'm guessing she didn't understand or remember that.
This night is a
Probably
part
more
of
than
his
one guy.
imagination. I'm frustrated, I'm overworked, I'm tired.
Eventually, Mr. Meyer admits to the court that after he separated from Ms. Fisher, he realized how much he missed his first son. He practically raised that boy for 2 years, but he was 100% sure that the second kid didn't belong to him. Even just seeing him made him tear up.
Because I have never left that house, not only for one day, but not especially for a week. So I know for a
Not
fact.
true at all. You claim she was at her mom's or wherever. I was taking care of Michael. What do you mean you never left for a week?
She visited us 3 times total, one being the birth of Michael and 2 other visits.
Then Mr. Meyer confesses that sometimes Ms. Fisher wouldn't be home for a week. Who knows what she was up to? No wonder Mr. Meyer ended up having so many doubts. What really devastates him is that even his first son might not be his. Can the results help him break free from Ms. Fisher?
You are the father.
Do you have anything you would like to say to your son?
I just feel terrible right now, and I will be taking care of him.
Mostly, women try to battle it out on paternity court with accusations of cheating and lying. But there's a special case with Stephanie. It turns out she's gone full psychotic, and she's here with one claim, that a ghost is the father of her child, Xavier.
My son needs his family. He calls her Nana, and she's been in his life. We need answers. He has nobody.
Okay, let's keep it real, please.
Heartbroken, confused.
But why? I just making me understand one thing. Why didn't I know about you?
I don't understand why you didn't know about me either.
Okay, that's not an answer.
Long ago, Stephanie and Georgie were living their happily ever after. And then they had Xavier. Initially, George's parents, Mr. Long and Mrs. Brown, readily accepted the newborn child into their family. But now, they're saying that Stephanie's making up lies about dating Georgie.
Friends. It was like a sexual friendship that we had for so many years. Like
For
it
5
wasn't-
years?
Yeah.
So
I've
how
known
did
Georgie
you
for
find
5
out
years.
And was he
passed
having a
away?
girlfriend? He had a girlfriend. I know his
Yeah,
girlfriend.
no matter who we were with, we still had sexual relations.
Right off the bat, things start getting pretty heavy between Mrs. Brown and Stephanie. On top of that, Mr. Long has a story to tell too. He proclaims that while Georgie was alive, he showed him a picture of Xavier, asking if there was any resemblance between the two. For them, Stephanie showed up out of nowhere.
There's other people in the neighborhood must be saying something because he came to me after 2 years. He brought this to my attention. It went over my head.
You told me that he looks like all your other grandkids.
My grandkids are biracial.
But that's what you said. He has Georgie's nose.
My
and
grandkids are biracial. I don't want to look at this baby and see something that's not there.
It's very confusing to understand whether Stephanie's telling the truth or not. She doesn't even have her side of the story straight. According to her, she was in a relationship with Georgie for 5 years. But when Judge Lauren asks if Georgie ever met Xavier, she can't provide a clear answer.
You know, he didn't. He just wanted to know if the
When
baby
did you
was
tell
dead.
Georgie? When did you tell Georgie you had a baby?
When the baby was 5 months old, Georgie came to me and called me and said, "Your son has my note." And I said, "Oh my God,
He came
you
to
are
you and
right."
said-
he
said
said,
that?
"Your son has my note."
Just out the blue.
Yeah, when the baby was 5-6 months old.
Amidst all the confusion, while Georgie was still alive, he ended up having a change of heart. He and Stephanie decided to get a home DNA test done, but before that could happen, poor Georgie passed away in a motorcycle accident, and the specimen expired. That explains why they're hoping Judge Lauren gives them the answers.
So there's one other man besides
How are you
Georgie.
telling me
Oh, it's one. So
can't
it's
be?
one other. You saying?
Yeah, it's him and the
Oh,
other
one
guy.
other man. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
Did you ever tell the other guy?
He had passed away when I was 5 months pregnant.
Oh.
He had got murdered.
Looks like Bad Luck is friends with Stephanie because even though she's come to court to prove things, both potential men are dead. You can't raise a baby with a dead daddy, Stephanie. While Georgie's family has been compliant for the DNA test, the same can't be said for the other family.
I tell him Georgie's
See, that's the problem.
What do you
that's
tell
the
him?
problem.
that he watches his videos, and I say, you know, that's That's daddy.
And he points to the videos and says, Daddy.
He calls him daddy.
Because
Calls him
either
daddy.
way, Georgie told me no matter what the results were when he was alive, that he was gonna be in his life.
Really?
Yes.
The heartbreaking fact is that Mrs. Brown spent 2 years trying to get over her Georgie's death. So it's very unfair of Stephanie to bring this up now. She could have done this before Mr. and Mrs. Brown still would have tried to raise Xavier. Can the results give these women the answers they need?
The percentage of relatedness between Ms. Brown and Mr. Long and Xavier Shimolinski is 0%.
I'm sorry.